The vocal is the most important part of the worship band. If it's not right, then nothing else is. So in this video, I want to show you my simple process for mixing lead vocals in a worship environment. And if you like what you see here, I'd encourage you to hit the link in the description and download my free reverb cheat sheet with 4 reverb settings that I use every time I run sound and how I use those settings. And also drop a comment if you like what you see in this video, if you like the reverb settings, and like the video, do all the YouTube stuff. Yeah, so let's get to it. All right, guys, so here is my process for mixing vocals live. So first, what we need to do is set our input gain. So on the X32, you can hit the solo button and see this meter over here has a little more detail on it than the channel meters do. So we can see what our signal's looking like. So in reality, I would want my vocal hitting a little bit higher than this, but I just speak quietly. I sing really loud, but I speak quietly. So in a perfect world, I like it when the vocal's hitting between, 18, minus 18, minus 21, somewhere in here, just it's landing right in the middle. And what I'll do whenever the singer is sound checking, I'll have them sing as loud as they say they're going to in the show or in the worship service. And then typically I will back it off a little bit because I have met very few that actually sing true in a sound check to what they're going to do later. So that's just a little, side note there, but that's how I typically do it. So I set the input gain, so I'm hitting right in the middle of the meter. And then I'm going to low cut at 100. This is not prescriptive. EQ is so subjective to everything that you're dealing with. So I'm just giving you some general guidelines of what I would go by and what is a good, safe starting point. So I would low cut at 100 here. And, you can go higher, you can go lower, but the main idea of what I'm doing with a low cut is I'm just cutting off the noise, the things that are not a part of the vocal. I don't have a low voice, so my vocal isn't going to get, any lower than 100. So 100 is, I'm not losing anything valuable in my voice, I'm only losing noise. So then we're going to compress, and I will usually hit, between 2 and 4 dB of compression here. That's just it's not doing a ton of work at a 2 ratio. And that's not doing a ton of work, but what it will do is just take off the peaks and just start to level the vocal off a little bit so that it sits evenly in a mix. And I really like the auto feature on this board. Is that cheating? Maybe a little bit, but I think it sounds really good. And I will bring the gain back up 2 dB for what I'm losing in reduction there. So then EQ. I know from my own voice, so I'm just using it as an example here, that I would cut a low shelf to cut out some of the low mids, the muddiness that's in my voice, and then I will cut it around 2K for that pointy kind of radio sound that just comes out of your voice. It's really piercing, and I know that that's in my voice, so I'll bring that down a little bit so whenever I get really loud, my vocal stays smooth. And now a low shelf here, you can do different shapes. You can do a bell if you want, but I just know that for my purposes, the way that I'll typically set the low shelf is I'll bring it down lower than I'm going to actually use it, bring it down just a few dB, and then sweep up until I feel like I'm losing valuable information or it really starts thinning out too much. The thing I go for with EQ like this is balance. I'm not going to overemphasize anything. I'm bringing out the bad stuff so that the good stays. And then I will also, a lot of times on a lead vocal, I don't do this on all my vocals, but on the primary vocal, I'll insert this LA2A emulation. I think it sounds really good for what it is. And you do that here in the effects home. I'll go over, and right now I'm using channel 1, so I'll select channel 1 and then hit the insert button here. So now that that compressor is on my vocal, and I will have the singer sing loud again, and basically just bring this knob up until this meter starts moving. Right now I'm pretty high up because I'm not talking loud, but I'll have it do the same thing at loud volumes, knocking off, 2 to 4, maybe even 5 dB of compression, because this thing sounds really kind of, I hate using these words, but transparent. It sounds very clear and natural. It doesn't sound like it's squashing the vocal. So I will definitely use that because I like the sound of 2 compressors working gently more than 1 compressor working a lot. I don't know why. I can't explain to you why they sound different, but they do. So That is how I will set the gain, low cut, compress twice, and do some basic EQ, just taking out the bad stuff. And then I will add some reverb. I love reverb. It's my favorite. It's just the best. And in this setting, I'll just show you if I had some sends to spare. You know, a lot of times I end up using just one verb, but in this setting, I'm just going to show you two. I'll use a short verb that sounds like I'm in a room. It sounds really natural. Just kind of add some space around the vocal. It's not doing much as an effect, but it is just kind of adding some life to it. And then I have a really big sounding verb that I'll use more for effect. I'll have it in most of the time, but at a low level. And really, I'll just drive it up a lot in big moments when, you know, the singer's hitting a big note or something like that, and it sounds like this together. So check, 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 1, 2, 1, 2. So those two together are doing a pretty good bit, but the idea is that they don't sound super over the top in the mix. So I will also EQ the sends to those verbs, usually around 307K, just depending on what the needs of that vocal are. But my thought process is I'm cutting out the low mids that are sending to the verb, and I'm cutting out like the S's that are sending to the verb, because S's really take off in reverb and it sounds really unnatural, sounds real crispy. To me, it just kind of sounds goofy. So I like to cut those off, but leave the upper mids in because it still adds some life to the vocal that way. So that's kind of my process for setting a vocal chain on an X32. I think it hits all of the necessary points and is plenty for most setups. So yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.